All right, so if you just so happen to be located somewhere in the United States, especially the southern part of the United States, you're probably under a whole lot of snow right now. We definitely are. We got about 6 or 7 or 8 inches or so out there, and now we have freezing rain, so it's going to be a long week and probably a long month. And so because of that, what are we going to do? We're going to go play some NBA Jam. That's what we do when things are bad around here. We play some NBA Jam Special Edition. And as much as I would love to play with Kerry Hoskins, we're not. We're going to play with Michael Jordan instead. We'll leave all of that sort of, fancy adult model star, playing and all that stuff for a little bit later. Once we've defeated all the NBA teams, that we can worry about, having some fun with our favorite former playmates. So before all of that, though, we've got to play with the GOAT. So here comes the GOAT with Pippen. And we got to beat the Nets this time. So last time, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. We had kind of a real frustrating game against them. I don't know why I always push the jump button because it doesn't do anything. We will never, ever, ever be able to win that tip, but we will be able to win the ball back, so it doesn't really matter. That's a good way to start it. So the big news involving basketball these days has a lot to do with the gambling incidents, and the NCAA and stuff like that. One of these days I am going to do a video that sort of touches on this subject. The New York Times had a piece this morning talking about how nobody seems to care that there's gambling. I don't agree with that. I think a lot of people do care. While I do think that there are some people who are intrigued by the sport because of the scandal, I think that in the end, this will be a very, very negative thing for the sport. In fact, I think that you could argue that some of the problems that the NBA has had recently have come because of gambling scandals, especially I don't remember the dude's name, but the ref a while back who was implicated in all the gambling and stuff like that. The problem that you have with these scandals is that, if the credibility of the game is in question, then, people are like, well, why am I even going to watch? Why am I even going to care, right? Like in the immediate aftermath of, a scandal, sure, I can see people saying, oh, I want to tune in, I want to see, what does the car crash look like and stuff like that. But in the long term, that's where you really have a problem. That's where you have a problem with the sport not being trustworthy. And that's the thing that I think is the biggest potential issue for the world of college basketball, and has been an issue with the NBA, I think, for quite some time. A lot of people talk about the modern NBA being unwatchable because of LeBron James, and I think that LeBron does take a lot of complaints from people, because of the type of game that he plays and stuff like that. But I really do think that the blame doesn't lie with him as much as it lies with the inability of the NBA to really clean house after this gambling scandal a couple years ago. I really do think that impacts the sort of credibility of the league. It makes it so that people will freak out a lot more if there's like a close call or something like that. It's not to say that people, absolutely cannot watch something that, is rigged or whatever. I mean, I know about, pro wrestling and stuff. Back when I was in middle school, I used to watch ECW all the time, and had a lot of fun watching it, But the thing is, the stuff that's scripted that is scripted is interesting and fun for a different reason. It's sort of like, if you're going to watch, I don't know, like a bunch of cartoons or something like that. It's kind of what it is. It's kind of like a literary type thing where, you do care about, how is this person doing, how is that person doing, but somewhere deep down inside, that, yeah, this is actually just fictional, and it's okay to have something that's fictional, but you've got to, have it be at least common knowledge that it's fictional. You can't really have a lot of success having something that people think is legitimate, but actually is predetermined. That's where people are going to start really, really getting upset. So anyway, in the long term, I do think that it's a problem. I do think that the gambling culture, in not just the United States, but all over the world, the sportsbook culture and stuff is an issue. I do think, though, that the issue of the sportsbooks has kind of been overstated. There's this, especially in the United States, there's this really troubling tendency that people have to blame things on, the victims. So, it's your moral fault or whatever if you're gambling and if you end up with gambling debt and all this stuff, not the fault of the company that provides these services, right? Really, when you look at it, the real fault lies with the companies that do this sort of thing, because these companies tend to be very, very predatory. And if you're not already aware of it, a lot of the sports books out there, like if you actually do have some sort of amazing mechanism by which you can, win a lot of games and win a lot of money, a lot more than you would on average. And they discover this, the sports book will simply refuse to allow you to gamble there anymore. And sometimes they'll figure out like some excuse to refuse to pay you. So, that's the big problem, right? A lot of these companies are really, really sketchy. They don't really add anything to society, and instead serve only to sort of take money away from people who are naive enough to believe that like they're going to make a whole bunch of money, because they bet on the right team or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a major, major problem. Anyway, speaking of major problem, we keep letting them back into this game. The Nets are a little bit better than I thought. 4 points is all for Pippen. I keep passing it to him. He doesn't know what to do with it. So I blame him. It's not my fault. That's the real Michael Jordan experience, right? It's all Pippen's fault. Jeez, Scotty. Anyway, it's all good. So yeah, temporarily, of course, I don't think that the gambling issues are going to be major, but I do think that they're going to be a big issue in the long term, especially for college basketball. It's really, really bad stuff. But when it comes to something like the legalization of sports betting and stuff, I really don't see how you're going to end up, like, you can't really close the barn door on that. And, even back when, it was totally illegal and the FBI was doing research and stuff and, like, trying to find this stuff, like, the FBI was not going to get you for, being your neighborhood, bookie or whatever. I mean, that was only going to happen if you had, like, really big money dealings, But, I mean, there's not a whole lot of examples of like, the big money, like the guy running the bar, the guy running the pizza place or whatever who was taking money for bets, getting into a whole ton of trouble or anything like that. I mean, like what they were trying to do at that time is they were trying to, take a lot of money or a lot of power away from the mob, which is where a lot of that stuff used to reside. And so these days, if you have like supposedly legitimate companies that are doing sports books instead, I mean, I don't know if I can necessarily complain that much. I mean, what do you want to do? You want to have them shut down and have it go back to the mob again, right? I mean, the thing is that people are always going to be interested in betting on sports. They always have been. It's pretty clear if you look at other countries in the world that people remain interested in sports gambling pretty much no matter what kind of scandals happen. Right, it's always going to be a thing. So, I mean, making it legal is not necessarily like some sort of like horrible moral, failing or awful thing for society or anything like that. The part where I have a problem is when you're talking about like a lottery, so, we're going to have a major lottery in our state and we're going to use this money to fund schools or whatever. I don't want to get like necessarily too political on you, but like, I'm all in favor of funding schools. I'm not necessarily in favor of funding schools by using like, lottery proceeds, which basically means that you're taking dollars and cents from people who are poor, who are hoping to become richer, and you're then, taking that away from them so that, more wealthy people end up not having to pay tax, basically. That's not, I think, very, very good fiscal management. Anyway. It's not a great thing. It tends to be sort of a thing that's used for a lot of pet projects that maybe you didn't need to have anyway. But the thing that I'll tell you about all of this is that you want to bring it back to sports. The big problem I have is where you see these sports organizations get a lot of public funding for their stadiums. That's where we have a lot of issues, right? And especially if they're going to use like the hotel tax or the whatever tax to try to make this happen. It's really, really frustrating. It's really something that the sports organizations should be paying for themselves and not being funded by public funding. But unfortunately in our world, and especially in the United States and Canada, we have seen a lot of this recently. You see a lot of this sort of like, desire for, being civically active and stuff that somehow becomes confounded with like, oh, we have to have a new, place for this team or that team to play or whatever. So anyway, that's a little bit of sort of the unfiltered rant for the day. Take it, Scotty. Oh, come on. You gotta dunk it, man. But this has become pretty ugly, hasn't it? We're only up by 3. Into the stands. How you like that? On fire, and we break the backboard. That's what we like to see. No. See, there you go. That's being a good teammate. You got to be a good teammate. Ah, that was a mistake. See, this is one of the things, I read somebody at some point in time who told me, you know, what you should do in this situation is you should try to waste time and run out the clock. You just can't do it. The game won't let you do it. If it's the very end of the game, there's no way. It's not going to let you just waste time and run it out and all that stuff. So what you have to do is you have to actually play and do the right thing, and then you can win. Just like we did. We won again. How do you like that? So 57 points for the GOAT, 6 for Pippin. Good job, Scotty. And we really injured them a lot. Poor Anderson probably lying down on the bench right now, can't get up. We play against Cleveland next. I don't remember who Cleveland has on their team. So yeah, we'll see how it works. It was pretty good. We probably should have won by a little bit more, but yeah, it's all right. Anytime you're getting a win by 5 points or more in this game, you're doing okay. So there you have it. It's a little bit of NBA Jam for you on a snowy day. I hope that you're doing okay. Don't drive if you don't have to, and if you do have to, go slow. Yeah, take it easy, and I'll give you some surprises tomorrow. We'll see what we play next. Talk to you later.